These are the men from the banks of Clyde who fit the plates and drive the rivets that make the ships that everyone knows as Clyde built. These are the men who helped to make the battleship, the merchant ship, the big ships and the little ships of the mighty British Navy.
Welcome to a special, or rather brief video today, and this is going to be the first of a series of videos where we're going to be looking at specific industrial issues around the land known to many of you as old perfidious Albion. But of course, this is the subject of the video today is perhaps outside of perfidious Albion, and this takes us to the land of Scotland. Albion, of course, being a name used for England. Now, the subject I'm going to be talking about just in this brief video today is the subject of shipbuilding on the Clyde. The River Clyde, of course, famous river in Scotland, runs through Glasgow. Shipbuilding on the Clyde has been an industry which, as implied in the introductory video, has a very, very long history. In fact, it goes all the way back to the 15th century. But it was really in the industrial era, from the early 19th century onwards, that the shipbuilders of the Clyde became a global leader in terms of innovation, in terms of production techniques, in terms of the high skill of the workmen involved, in terms of the high quality of the shipping they made. And they remained in a leading position in the world for a very long time into the 20th century, when the industry went into sharp decline after World War II, particularly from the 1960s, when the capitalist owners of the shipbuilding industry started refusing to invest and blaming the workers for their refusal to invest. And of course, British shipbuilding lost out in terms of competition with shipbuilders from places like Japan, who had invested in new production techniques. As a consequence of that, shipbuilding on the Clyde and elsewhere went into a steep decline and is now a shadow of its former self. Now, when it comes to the question of shipbuilding on the Clyde today, there was some slight cause for optimism a few years ago when the SNP government, back in 2019, nationalised one of the remaining yards on the Clyde, that is Ferguson Marine, and made an apparent commitment to channel work to it. Now, this has been reversed in recent years as the Scottish government started to push work for the Scottish nationalised ferry service, that's Caledonian McBrain, out to shipbuilders in Poland and Turkey. More recently, it was revealed that in a media story covered in the last 2 weeks, that an order by the Scottish National Ferry Service had actually gone to a shipyard in Poland. Now, we have nothing against Polish shipyard workers, of course. There is a fine tradition of shipbuilding in Poland. But isn't it a little odd that a government in Edinburgh that is headed by the Scottish National Party, which claims to want to establish Scotland as an independent state, is busy ignoring the industrial base it currently has and seems to be prepared to let part of that wither away in the form of shipbuilding? And this follows, of course, the SNP's inertia over the job cuts at the Grangemouth oil refinery. Rather strange, again, for a party which claims to want to lead an independent Scotland to willfully neglect, some might say, the industrial base. So there are clear demands that should be made here, in our view, to actually address to both the SNP administration in Edinburgh, headed by a certain Mr. John Swinney, and to every single Scottish politician, which is that where you have a nationalised ferry company, which is what Caledonian McBrain is, and you have a nationalised shipyard which can service the requirements of this company, then there is a natural marrying up here that all work for Caledonian McBrain should be sent to Ferguson Marine. And if the capacity isn't there to fulfil those orders properly at the moment, then the Scottish government should commit to investing in the shipyard for a long-term period of time. And that if the skill base that is required isn't quite there at the moment, then again, a serious investment plan should be put in place to build the skill base in and around Glasgow to make sure that such orders can be fulfilled properly in the future. A government which was serious about its stated intentions of leading the country to independence would, of course, do everything it possibly could to protect and extend its industrial base and not follow the same route of industrial asset stripping and replacement of productive industry with parasitism that the British government in London has long since favoured. So the demand should be made by the working class, by the trade union movement to John Swinney to every single member of the Scottish Parliament to back the shipbuilders on the Clyde, to protect the shipbuilding industry in Scotland, and to prevent the withering away of such a vital industry. And let the SNP and the other party leaders in Edinburgh come out and state why they won't do this. Now, so far, they've hidden behind the usual flannel about competitive tendering, etc., etc. But again, the political challenge should be made to these people, which is, if you are serious about the commitments that you make to develop Scotland in the direction of independence, then why haven't you actually done anything to stop the process of deindustrialization? Now, we all know, if you've watched this channel long enough, the answer to that question, which is that the SNP leaders aren't remotely serious about the things that they say they are committed to, and are in fact a regional management team employed by the British ruling class to oversee the further deindustrialisation and decay of Scotland, just as every other politician who aspires for a career in a system which is ultimately derived from Westminster and ultimately serves the British ruling class wants to do. But the challenge should be made to them anyway. Let them come out and tell their weak, pathetic lies in public and make the demand in order that the Scottish workers, first of all in Glasgow and more widely, mobilise around it. Just as many years ago, the Scottish working class mobilised around the demands made by the Upper Clyde shipbuilders to save their jobs, in that inspiring example of working class mobilisation and resistance to deindustrialisation led by the late, great Jimmy Reid. And it is with the words of the late, great Jimmy Reid that we will end this special broadcast, and we will return next week with another look at deindustrialisation in this country and what we can do to address it. Thank you for watching. Be back with you again very soon.
Today, the Clyde side speaks. Today, Scotland speaks. Not the Scotland of the lairds and their lackeys. They've never represented Scotland. Here in this demonstration, in this meeting today, is the real Scotland. The Scotland of the working people.